result
It
for
is
X7
not.
to lose, given how they've been playing.
Why is that? Dusty versus X7. We have a lot to talk about this matchup. I know all of you want to talk about this one. I also want to talk about this one. But before we introduce the topics, I would say we have a special video coming in from Dusty, from the fan on the street. I heard this is a good one. I have no idea what's about to happen, so I'm washing my hands away from this. Best of luck for all the viewers back at home.
Hello there, fellow NLC fans, and welcome to Iceland. My name is Daði, and I'm a Dusty superfan. I never leave my house without wearing my Dusty cap, and I drink one Dusty Nocco every day. We have X7 next week. It's going to be an easy dub. I mean, we won Eminem, they lost against Eminem, so don't forget to dream Dusty.
That is Don Jake.
That's not Don Jake.
Yeah, I was like, it doesn't seem like Don Jake.
No. Don't worry, you still gotta wait for it. But like you said, I mean, the logic makes sense, right? They beat Eminem, they lost to Eminem, X7 did. I kind of get it.
The math checks out.
The math checks out.
I have a lot of respect for this because, you know, I'm a big fan of a great many, you know, sci-fi and fantasy movie series. I love The Lord of the Rings, and that was one of the better scenic shots I've seen on that program.
Yeah.
If they want to add in a particular fellowship of any kind and have it go to Iceland to take similar shots, I'd be down for that.
Okay, I thought it was Don Jake. I got baited. I got really confused.
We
but
had
I'm going
information.
Yeah. I'm going to thank you for the fan on the street. I always love these segments when I get to see the fans back at their own places. And yeah, Iceland is just...
The tease now is Archer has just leaked to be here on Wednesday for that fan on the street.
Oh, I have no idea. Okay, I got you better than I should bait you all. Moving on. Okay, Dusty versus X7. Dusty, though, they could actually take down X7. X7 could go 0-3. Why is that?
Yeah, I mean, I think X7 right now look in disarray as far as gameplay is concerned. I think that day one into XL, I think XL really just prepped really well for them, to be honest.
And very, very strong team.
And a very strong team in general, right? I think they did a great job at baiting X7 into allowing MC to have Nidalee and then just completely shutting it down with their own team fight composition. I think day two, Eminem just out-gameplayed them, but I think X7 outdrafted them. So I think we've got a bit of a weird dichotomy in that sense from those sort of sample size of games. I think Dusty all in all, though, just had a very strong week, period, I think, into both Eminem and I believe it was Neriki. It was pretty much complete domination. So I'm not sure what to expect from Dusty, except that same level of high pressure on the map from start to finish into X7.
And where it really hinges around for me, I'm really interested in looking at this top lane. I think Kerberos has returned to the NLC, has been really strong last year. We talk about MNS a lot, about being the solo kill king. Last year, that was Kerberos for the NLC. Led our records for the entire season, played a lot of stuff like Nasus, played a lot of stuff that was lane dominant, Camille, Nah, and was using that to get individual advantages and then use that to roll over the map. Now, against someone like Chasey from X7, who is a new import to our league, was an LCK Challengers player, they have the mechanical skill cap to potentially go toe-to-toe and show up as one of the top laners in the ERL system. I think they genuinely are this caliber. You talk to Chronicler, who covered that league so much. They have very high expectations of this player and people coming out of the LCK Challengers. And that's already on a roster with so many stars on it. We started spring with this whole spiel about, wow, how are these players going to start trying to one-up each other? What's going to happen with this amount of firepower they have? I think it's a similar situation here, and I want to see Chasey really pop off against Dusty in particular. I think that top lane matchup's a great one to start proving himself.
Yeah, and I feel like in general, Chasey's been one of the few consistent points for X7 so far, leading into this third game here for them. I think even if, you know, X7 as a team have kind of been falling apart, Chasey's either had really solid laning phases or at the very least he's been able to show up in team fights and do something that gives you sort of that semblance of hope of, okay, maybe X7 will win a team fight. It hasn't happened yet for them, but I think, like you say, the top lane matchup is one to look at. And I mean, hell, Kerb's been to Korea. He's laned against these Korean top laners before. We might have even played against Chasey and solo queue over there, so who knows? I'm excited to see how he handles this, yeah?
It's a game that Dusty have to win if they want to stay undefeated, and it's a game that X7 needs to win if they want to come back to the standings. We're talking about the kings of Spring Split that are now almost tied up for the last spot. This is outside NLC Summer Split is right now. And right now, we have the champion select for both these teams. We have a lot to talk about. We have a lot to discuss because, in my opinion, you have Kerberos, but also Backlund has been a beast, and the Voxne can play whatever the team needs.
You know, you go back to the first couple of games of spring when Dusty were actually struggling. They were bottom half of the table team. I thought Backlund was looking a little bit shaky. Had a couple of LeBlanc games, which I personally was like, oh, this guy's probably not going to make it at this point. Probably going to be a bottom tier player. He's really stood up. And I'm willing to take that L and see the growth, see the development of this player yet again, and see that return to form. I'm really happy to see Dusty now again start off strong, actually, something that they didn't do in spring, and hopefully try and match or exceed what they did in that spring playoffs, where they did make a very deep run.
Need to respect the Nidalee, so they're going to take that away from MC, the one trick pony, as we call that is a massive Nidalee player. Aside from that, not a lot of surprises. Wukong is still available, so this should be a red side ban, no?
Yes, I would expect it to be, unless X7 have something planned for it, and they want to have Linkus take it up, or maybe they just feel like he won't prioritize it. We'll have to see. Yumi gets taken away from Sing. A little nod there to him, of course. And yeah, I'm expecting the Wukong to come in as the ban. I'm more, curious about what the first pick will be, right? We saw the Viego come out for Astralis. Is this now going to kind of be that new, okay, Viego is strong again, but he's not quite, weak, strong enough to constantly be banned? It seems like actually Kog'Maw's going to be taken off the table instead. So Wukong up, Viego up. How will these teams prioritize? I feel like Viego offers you a little more in terms of what he can bring to the entirety of a draft. But of course, Wukong
has the
still very powerful. Yeah,
that's the big thing for me. You look at Wukong, and I think, yeah, actually has an ability to get on top of these difficult carries. But actually, maybe we can have a situation like we had last game, where they're saying, look, if you pick a Viego or a Wukong, you have to dive into a Polymorph, you have to dive into the Lulu. That's really difficult to do. We knew that enchanters were likely going to be strong. We pointed that out on pre-show and said, look, their laning phase is less likely to be put into a kill game. It's less likely to get to a point where they shut out the game early. These enchanters have a lot of value.
Yeah, and you know what? Actually, I want to talk about... I had a conversation with Veteran on stream last week where he was speaking about Attila and Kasing's laning back when they were on Giants. And quoting from him, he just said they weren't really great as a duo in lane. You get Attila out of lane, he is one of the best, if not the best team
timestamp for Attila?
26 minutes.
26 minute Attila time.
You get Attila out of laning phase, you get him to 2 items or whatever the item spike cap is for that champion, and he will be one of the best team fighters in the ERLs. But honestly, when you take into consideration the Lulu first pick, it makes so much sense. If you feel like they're not going to be able to punish it, go for it, and that's what Dusty seemed to have done here in this instance. The response is going to be Senna, and we'll have Viego alongside it. Now I want to see whether or not we're going to get that hyper carry response, or whether we're also going to get the Wukong alongside this Lulu.
What this opens up is X7 to say, look, you have a Lulu. Yeah, but Lulu's not a roaming champion. You're not going to turn up top lane to start really messing around with large plays that are happening across the map. That Senna ult can really affect these things. Something like a Jinx, Lulu, though, has always been strong in this current meta. Once we've had, ever since like last Worlds, or kind of like the summer split of last season, we know that this lane has been just very difficult to deal with, even when you had strong laning champions. So Senna might be able to neutralize and start stacking up themselves, but it does feel like if you go towards these 5v5s, you're going to deal with a Jinx Lulu who's very strong. But it is a little different, though. That's not something I had on the radar, I have to say.
You know what? I actually kind of like it. I think when you see
you're going to have to tell me why.
When you see Senna on the table, chances are you're not going to have a crazy tank killer on your team unless you try and find it from elsewhere on the map. You could. That's the only thing. I think if they throw in something like an Azir, then that's kind of the one thing that kind of shuts this down. But again, my key thing is Udyr is just going to outpace the Viego. I think Linkus is the kind of player that loves pathing efficiency, and into a player like MC, when he's on Viego MC, we're going to expect him, even though as an Italy player, he loves his efficiency in his own right, he's probably going to try and look to attack the lanes on the Viego. Udyr is just going to capitalize on that, out-farm him through the Razoo. And I think with a Lulu in his back pocket, he's just going to be unkillable, and he's going to be able to deal with and peel for this Jinx if he has to, and he can also just go and cause backline dive, because realistically, until Gangplank hits his items right now, who's really going to deal with the Udyr?
And I think early 3v3's bot, I don't care if you have a Viego that's stronger level 2, level 3, Udyr with the Lulu, extra speed up, with the Jinx popping up one time, you can't fight that 3v3.
Yeah.
So I think X7, maybe their answer is, okay, GP is flexible enough to play weak side, have very low resources, so we can put extra focus on bot side. So maybe it's something like a mid lane priority matchup, which can help get down there. Maybe it starts bailing out the bot lane and jungle 3v3, being a little weird at that point. Maybe that's their answer to it. They're leaving themselves fairly open, which, I mean, you compare this to the last draft we watched when we said, okay, your cards are too much on the table. We said that about some of our teams in the league. Having this ability to flex around, be able to focus on either side of the map a little bit more, even going into your last couple of picks, you can see the power it brings at this point. You're not completely shut out just yet.
I mean, I have to say, if he brings the Ghost alongside with the Lulu, there's no one that can run away from him. I don't know if you saw that movie from the Little Wizard, The Order of the Phoenix. I think this is about to be it. If he brings all those movement speeds items with him. And looking into the bands, there we go. I thought the Tom Kench would be paired with the Sin.
We weren't going to go with like Fast and Furious Dusty Drift, or there are plenty of speed-related movie puns we could have.
I had to go for the Phoenix, man. The slap up of Phoenix.
I'm ignoring both of you. Yeah, Tom Kench.
Tenacious Dusty, Rise of the Phoenix.
Oh god, no! Get me off the desk. No, I'm kidding.
You're stuck with us.
Okay. Tom Kench makes a whole bunch of sense. One of the most common pairings. Karma being hovered and will get locked in. All right, that's an interesting take. So I'm gonna hold my reservation. I'm gonna hold my reservations until I see where it actually goes, because something like Senna Karma can kind of be this weird oppressive bot lane if you want to kind of have a little bit of priority. And
it could be a Karma mid though.
Yeah, but yeah, that's the thing. I'm not sure where it wants to go. I think it has to see the matchup in the mid lane. Gnar into GP, it's something we've seen for a very long time. We're now looking at Barkland and saying, how does Dusty want to round out this draft? And how does Barkland want to respond to what could potentially be a Karma or a blind pick? You could go for something like super, you know, old school like the Orianna. You could also just go for something like the Azir, right? Just for the simple sake of now we'll have two hyper carries. Again, something like Victor plays into being able to, at the very least, provide loads of AoE from the Defray and from the Orma.
Karma is not going to threaten you, realistically, and Karma Viego it's not a strong 2v2 mid, or at least it's not a kill threat 2v2.
Yeah.
Now, one of the reasons I thought that the Karma could be going into that mid was because of that prior, but I think just giving that as the Victor, rather, the free matchup, maybe just a little bit too much for them, and again, that flexibility allows them to opt out of that. It allows them to put that Azir back in. Azir can have control over the lane. No Bruce involved here. Because particularly in levels 1 to 3, that Azir can do a lot more work just against those minions. And that's quite important because we already talked about how if things start focusing on that bot side, that Udyr is going to be able to play through that Jinx Lulu, or at least solidify them in a way which I'm not sure X7 are comfortable with them doing.
Yeah, so I'm in two minds here with that being said. I feel like X7 have themselves a draft, which you go to the later stages, you've got an Azir, you've got a Senna, you've got a Gangplank. Even Viego is going to scale okay here if he can take over a form. But that's my problem. I feel like at the same time, Dusty kind of do the same thing, and you could maybe argue better. It's such a hard call here in the draft. I feel like it's going to just come down to how these two teams are going to end up functioning into each other and who gets the priority on things like, you know, objective control, who's in the river first, and who can actually take control of areas of the map properly.
Will X7 start the climb on the mountain again? We don't know, but if Dusty wins, they'll stay undefeated at the NLC. So without further ado, Hiprine in trouble, bring us into the battlefield.
We are getting ready to go into the battlefield momentarily. Just give us a moment while we load in, though, Arkaram. So, Dusty 2-0 right now, and we've just hit the durability patch. If anything for me, to me, this screams, wow, that's a Denvoxney meta if ever.
Oh, you know why it's even better than a Denvoxney meta? Because, yeah, okay, this guy's like insane on hyper carries. He's built to carry his team forward, but now you can have Lulus, Yumis, Renatas, Sorakas, Karmas next to him, like all the juicy enchanters.
If Denvoxney can play a hyper carry and his support plays an enchanter,
yeah,
it's a Denvoxney
it's
meta.
done. Yeah.
This guy, way back when I first was introduced to him, he always reminded me of like old school Reckless in the way that like he just wants to farm for like 4 items and then to show up and carry a fight. He doesn't want to do anything for 30 minutes other than get 300 CS. That's all he wants to do.
Okay, this is the new and improved version of Denvoxney though.
Yeah.
Because he has been, even when he was playing Soraka last week, he has been extremely active in getting even the most minor advantages for his team wherever he can carry them. So this is the new and improved version. This is volume 2 of Denvoxney, and he's got his hands onto a Jinx. Now, of course, if we look on the bottom of the map for both these teams, we see extremely pokey and push-heavy lanes.
Yeah.
Karma with the Q, Mantra Q, Senna has a bunch of AoE with the Q as well, and the long-range auto attacks, and of course Jinx We know Jinx to be one of the most malicious pushing AD carries towards the bot side of the map, paired up with the Lulu. Now, this is going to be a battle of who can push harder and a battle of sustain, which is where Viego and Udyr come in. Both are not necessarily known for super heavy early game aggression. Both of these junglers are sort of neutralizers, and they've both been picked into each other, so I'm assuming that both of these two guys are going to want to cover for the bot side of the map whilst their bot lanes are pushing.
Yeah, the big thing, though, is what Jamada was hitting on, how falling, because we expect this to be a pretty fast clear. Udyr is an incredibly fast-paced jungler. He can kind of get around the map. And if you make a position, if you let your position be known, and Udyr's on the other side of the map, he can quickly just bear stance into your jungle, zoom in, steal a camp, and zoom back out. He can be very oppressive, and those little things slowly snowball for him being further and further ahead. Obviously, there's the Azir, and this is what Jamada was talking about. If this Azir does come in, that is always scary as well, because Azir just shuts him down. He makes a massive wall he can't walk through.
And it's not just any Azir, it's Tempt's Azir. This guy played Azir in EU Masters, and I remember I was sitting on my sofa, and I was like, oh no, he picked Azir, what a resident sleeper pick for Tempt. And he literally started solo killing people on that Azir, level 3 to level 4. So this guy is a master of a champion, and he will find ways to destroy your day. My biggest question mark for X7 has been MC since week 1.
Oh, no,
I have been, as Kerberos is having a lot of violence towards the top side, I have been a huge fan of MC, and particularly the champion pool that he has with all the AP junglers, the Dianas, the Rumbles, the Nidalees, and all that. And I feel like in this particular team, his role is a little bit different rather than when he was on Riddle and he was supposed to be their main carry.
Yeah.
He's playing with Tempt, who's not also known for not necessarily bringing out too many AD picks in the mid lane to sort of complement MC's champion pool. And MC not only has to reinvent the way he plays, he also has to reach deep inside his champion pool. And right now he's played 3 different champions, and I really hope we kind of see him shine on one of them, and this one is going to be Viego.
Linkus was thinking about coming in bot lane, but that tri-bush ward pretty big for them there. Able to spot him out the side of X7 as Linkus just going to get on to the crab. You can see he's a little bit further ahead of MC in the speed of the clear. MC's only just getting onto his crab. Linkus will reset and be on the map by the time MC's gone back to base. And it's going to be, you know, little things like this just means it snowballs that little bit quicker, especially if it's a more passive game. We were kind of looking at this in the draft, and we were saying for the side of X7, it looks like they've got a relatively passive draft put together. Now, top lane might be proving us a little bit wrong there. Kerberos is getting mega bullied up here from this Grasp GP. And actually, a fairly large CS lead is starting to accrue for Cassie. So Kerb has to be a little bit careful on that one.
Yeah, and I think especially for Chasey, we haven't necessarily seen too much from him. We've seen him on the Jace, we've seen him trying to be proactive, but all in all proactivity mid lane though.
Coming in with a bear slap, Tempt able to drift away to safety. Really nice movement there. That is Ghost Burnt though.
So Linkus tries to put in a very early gank, maybe potentially taking a summoner spell off of Tempt. Tempt played this very, very well. He knows he has to shove in his lane right there, so Udyr shows up, uses his E, gets away from many sticky situations. But now, the question here is, both of these junglers are relatively not so active in the early game, I would say. They mostly want to make sure that they cover for their lanes. As you can see, top side of the map is pushing for X7 on Chasey, who's actually bullying Kerberos at this point. So you want to make sure that MC is towards the top side of the map, or at least he's keeping vision towards the top side of the map. That's why if we look on the top quadrant of Linkus' jungle, we see a ward placed by MC himself, and of course the Scuttle Crab that's going to cover the river. As for the bot side of the map, because you have the Jinx and because you want to have that continuous push and play not so dangerously, I would say, while you're pushing, you saw that Linkus covered the bot side of the map and went towards that Scuttle Crab.
Yeah, was able to move into that particular area for the moment. Teleport comes in from backline just to get back into the lane, and MC actually going to make sure that Temp does get this reset off, although Laser Beam could be a little bit scary and could interrupt there, but I'm quite happy with the wave state right now. Bot lane is a farming Karma as well, so you're obviously going to be a little bit of a slower kind of laning for its moment. Sorry, laning for the moment? I can't speak, Trouble.
Laning for the moment. Yes.
You know what? What are you guys doing at the moment? I'm going to press this button and find out. Boop.
I didn't press the button. You didn't press the button. I'll press the button. There you go.
Hello.
Wait.
Mom, can we have NLC? No, we have NLC at home.
No,
NLC at home.
Nah, sorry.
Hold on.
Sorry.
Hold on.
Sorry,
Let's get rid of that bad boy. We don't want anything to do with that.
you know what? NLC actually makes it out of groups, or makes it to groups. The EU Masters. Oops, yikes. So, back to the game. Because the game has slowed down, let's chat a little bit about X7, right? Because
Okay.
they're coming into summer as the former champions of the NLC. They took NLC by storm the previous season. They literally stomped over any opponent they found in their way into the playoffs, and it was a pretty smooth sailing run onto EU Masters, where they fell in the quarterfinals to one of the strongest teams that the tournament had, which was LDLC. So pretty impressive run overall by X7. Now, if we look at what's happened to this X7 lineup from spring to summer, 3 different players have moved, and 3 different players have moved in. So we have Chasey in the top set, who's coming from Challenger Series Korea, which is sort of like a Div 2 to the LCK, and he's been a very promising carry.
Oh, that's gonna be a barrel!
Promising carry, steals blue buff. There you go. Then if we look towards the jungle, we had Haru, who's now on the LEC. NMC has to fill in his shoes, which is very difficult. Kerberos is gonna fancy his 1v1 because he's Mega now right here, but he has to disengage at this point. So MC has been put into the shoes of Haru, who had insane synergy, by the way, with Tempt. The 2 Koreans in X7 were able to dictate the entire early game.
Yeah.
Now, of course, we don't necessarily know how the communication between MC and Tempt is, but again, champion pool-wise, they don't mesh very well, and so far, we haven't necessarily seen too much teaming up. Mind you, Slogyo had to play day 1, because Tempt just got back from Korea last Tuesday.
Yeah, but we did also see from MC and Tempt, you know, at EU Masters, just them not teaming up. We picked it up as like this thing where like, they're gonna team up loads, and they just didn't at all.
You meant Haru and Tempt.
Sorry, yes! Oh my word. My brain. I don't know why. You literally talked about all that, and my
Right.
brain just went, it's because I got caught off by that tweet trouble. That's what it is. I'm hurt.
I'm gonna keep moving further down.
Go.
We've got Attila, ex-LEC Worlds, like you name it, he has it, right? And so far, X7 has been putting him on non-hyper carry ADCs down the both side of the map. Yes, they put him on his infamous Ezreal last week, which is his favorite champion to play, right? But that still is not a hyper carry. So X7 was putting everybody on comfort picks last week. Now it's time to reinvent themselves, go back to the drawing board, see how they want to play the game, and the members of the team have to adjust. I think the one that has to do the most adjustment is going to be MC. Again, he went from a carry role in Riddle to having to be the front line for X7 and the facilitator. And the question will be, by the end of the split, can he actually do it? Can he step into Haru's shoes and fill them properly?
I'll have to keep our eyes on him over the next couple of weeks to see if he can do so. Getting some pretty nice trades off there versus Denvoxney. And actually, I'm going to get a whole bunch of additional damage off onto Stend, who's not able to reset as the wave is just going to get hard shoved in. Attila quite happy to catch as many of these souls as possible. Currently on 37 souls here, and also denying some farm from Denvoxney. If you look at Kasink, Kasink does actually have a farm leader for Denvoxney. So they have been able to do something with this for the moment, but obviously, you know, the gold not going into Attila does mean that he doesn't quite spike as fast or as quick, or as, you know, doesn't get the option to get as many items as the likes of Denvoxney on this Jinx. With the Lulu in the pocket, there is a point where Denvoxney just gets super scary.
Also, I just want to point out that Denvoxney has chosen Ghost as his second summoner spell over Flash. So I want to see how this will play out, because there's a bunch of things that can slow you down even after you Ghost, right? There's the Gangplank ult, there's Stun, there's Shuffles from Tempt. So I don't know if there was a better summoner spell choice, because who do you really exhaust? No one's going to be playing in your face from the side of X7. So exhaust is not on the table. Cleanse is not on the table because there's not necessarily any hard CC, and then maybe the root that could land on you from Attila. So maybe Ghost was like the go-to right here for Denvoxney, so he can get a little bit better distance between his opponents and himself.
I kind of like it. It's like you were saying, there's obviously, you know, what are you actually going to be using here?
Yeah.
But I actually, wow, he just lost half his health. I really like, you know, the fact that it resets with your passive as well, so you just become zooming. As MC has been caught out momentarily here, not actually going to go down though. Bit of durability patch stuff coming in with the shielding as well. And X7 just going to continue to fire away at this tower, slowly chip away, try and get a couple of extra plates, because obviously, like we're saying, Attila's not got access to as much gold, so if he can get plate gold, that is a big injection to Attila here on this Senna. So that's obviously something to kind of keep your eyes on, keep your mind on. Obviously got the serrated dirt in the inventory, and actually, if we do look at the overall kind of the scoreboard in itself, Chasey's got a big CS lead over Kerberos.
Look at mid lane.
Mid lane, also a lead starting to accrue. Bot lane's a bit of a weird one because, yeah, technically Kasing does have a lead, but isn't quite, you know, there as Chasey.
Oh, how the tables have turned.
He's going to get slammed back. He's going to orange. He's going to flash. Curve actually losing quite a lot of health. And this is how much harder it is to pull off these kind of tower dives. He was low, but the resistances just came in with the cleanse and the orange as well. Chasey's okay.
Yeah, and of course he can use his fruit, right, to get straight out of the stun, which means that Kerberos is going to miss a subsequent combo that he has from his ability. So that was really well played right there from Chasey. But he did burn his flash in this particular engage, which means that this could cost him very dearly if, for example, Udi decides to join in on a tower dive towards the top side of the map. But as you mentioned, bot side is going to be the side that MC is going to choose to drop the Rift Herald. He has mid priority, has bot lane priority, then he can use the Herald to push bot and also move on to the Dragon and secure the second one of the game. Again, remember what happened to the Astralis versus Singularity game. You stack up the Dragons, you will force the team eventually that you're playing against to come and fight you so they stop the soul from going your way. And now we're going to be able to see if it's going to be a mountain or... Oh, it's actually going to be an Infernal Soul, which, yeah, this is going to be very hurtful on the Senna specifically, because he suddenly turns into an Aphelios with Infernum.
Yeah, it's going to be pretty...
Very far
scary.
away.
It's going to be rough. It's going to be rough either way. Inferno obviously the soul, but most teams don't really want to VC coming up, especially when they're on that like losing side. Well, you want to see it coming up when you've been able to accrue yourself some dragons, 2 in the pocket of X7, and they need to find this comeback. 0-2 on the first week. It's frankly kind of not acceptable from a team who are just... They were our first seed. I mean, technically they are still the defending champions of the spring split. But this is not what we expected out of them. We saw some of these roster changes and went, that's looking pretty good. Yeah. But it wasn't the start they needed. Now, coming in, Ghosts are getting popped. MC is going to get bear slapped down. Polymorph as well. MC, low HP, the Wild Growth for the knock-up as well. And Attila's coming in. Yes, the Cannon Barrage as well. A little bit more additional damage. And now Attila actually starting to output a fair amount of hurt here. But it looks like neither team are going to fully commit here. 14 minutes in, and neither team has found first blood, but Stend has found himself a lot of health missing.
I don't think X7 were ever in any danger. Temp still has his ult up and available. Attila still has his ult and his heal up and available. I don't necessarily think MC was ever in real trouble. Who's in real trouble, though, is going to be the Dusty bot lane, because the 7 members from X7 look towards the top side of the map, but Jinx is notoriously known for clearing waves so quickly, which means that X7 will have no wave to dive off of. MC is all alone.
Oh, it was the old switcheroo. Temp's going to get bear slapped. Zap, trap, flash away. The polymorph goes down. But there's the Emperor's Divide from Temp into the railgun just to make sure they're shielded up. And X7 get away once again.
I'm just mind blown. I don't know why Buckland did just not chase MC down and actually kill him. He had ultimate available for himself. He had QE. He had everything on the kit of Victor to try and chase MC down, or at least take his flash that MC still has. They changed completely their target, and we mentioned Temp had his ultimate available. He had his flash available. Attila had his ult and his heal available. And yes, everything has been used right now, but the Dragon is nowhere near. It's in 2 minutes and 30 seconds, and some of these summoners and all of these ultimates will still be back up when the time comes to fight.
Chasey now in the bot lane, got himself the Triforce finished up. You got the Divine Thunder on MC, you've got the Leandries on to Temp, and Dusty actually not rocking a single mythic item or a completed item at all here, as Demvoxny has been caught out by a lot of damage. Look at what Attila's able to do. The root's going to land on to Stend to make sure Demvoxny doesn't get caught out, doesn't have to burn that summoner spell. But Dusty, every time they have a little trade with the X7 bot lane, they are really losing out on these fights, and that is starting to kind of catch up with Demvoxny. He has now gone back to base, finished up the Kraken Slayer, and Curb has his Triforce. But even so, it just feels like they're a little bit behind right now. And if you look at the gold lead, you can see that they're behind by 3,000 gold.
But you mentioned it. Every time there's a 1 versus 1, X7 are playing the macro flawlessly right now. They know that MC is on towards the top side of the map. They want to take the Herald. What do? They see it then Voxney with no mana on the top side of the map. They shove him in. They push him off his tower. They take his Ghost. That means they have the people's advantage towards the top side of the map. That means MC gets to take that Herald for free. Now, what you can do in 1:20 is pop that Rift Herald in the mid lane, threaten to take mid lane tower and mid lane pressure, and then just go slow towards the top bot side of the map, which will mean soul point for X7.
Yeah, absolutely. And you see Dusty are trying to deny that. They're moving in, they're placing vision, they're trying to get some level of control, some semblance of vision in this area of the map. And a lot of wards going down for them. They've got the crab, but will time out before the dragon spawns up, unfortunately. But at least they have something to play around with. Seeing a teleport coming in from Kasing, actually, to clear out this wave here in the mid lane and make sure that they can still themselves keep some pressure, because Dusty, they've placed their vision down. They want to get control of this bot wave and then potentially look to maybe reset a couple of members in the lead up to this dragon. It looks like it's only going to be Backlund who goes in for the reset. Curb's got teleport, so he's sitting pretty up top side. And here comes the teleport from Backlund. So expect to see some action break out soon.
Yeah, and I think this is going to be where they actually fight for mid lane priority. Remember, always there is in the pocket of MC a Rift Herald. You can choose to put it down, create some pressure, and then move towards the bot side of the map. If X7 choose to not fight this dragon, they don't have to. They have already 2 in their pocket. They can start stacking them, but look at how low this tower is right now. They can use that pressure, get Kerberos to proc his Megana, so by the time they have moved into the river, Kerberos does not have that available for him.
Well, Curb, actually, yeah, like you said, about to Nara, has hit it himself as Temp. Maybe looking for a little bit of damage. The Honeyfruit going to heal everybody up. But Cubs comes in. The flash going to land until the flash is out as well. And Stend is already so low. First blood being picked up for Chasey. He's answered back though. Big Emperor's Divide and 2 kills have been picked up for the side of X7. But Dusty, they're now chasing Temp. Temp's able to get over the wall. Use the Sand Soldiers, put a whole bunch of damage as the Heartbreaker comes out from MC. And Den Voxney's just trying to get these Kraken Slayer procs off, trying to get as much damage as possible. As Temp get hit by the Zap one more time. The Railgun almost finishes up these last 2 members of Dusty. And Dusty, they had control of the river, but they lost the fight when it counted. And the dragon will go over to X7. I need to see that fight again, because it was just a couple of little things were just not played right there,
Yeah,
it went bad.
I'm gonna play spoiler right here. We used to say in spring, this is the Korean show for X7, Harrow and Tempt. This fight was also the Korean show. Look at the bot side of the map. It is Tempt and Chasey, 2 versus 4. They're keeping 4 members of Dusty on their shoulders. And yes, Chasey goes down, but he takes away one of the key components, which is the Lulu that keeps the Voxney alive. So look at this, then Tempt jumps over the wall. He keeps zoning away with his shoulders, while the rest of X7 have taken out Kerberos onto his Na. So there's just no one to defend this dragon, and Dusty have to run away because they just don't have the range to fight with.
I think the critical moment of that fight was actually Kerberos not landing the ultimate. A great flash comes out from Kasing to clear himself of the wall stun. Attila knew he was fine, so he didn't even need to burn the flash. And then Kerb misses the ult, and then they get turned onto. If he had chunked Attila, that fight could have turned entirely different.
I am just happy to see that X7 are forming some sort of bond when it comes to in-game play, right? And we all knew that it was the Harrow and Tempt show last year, because these guys were playing together. And again, I don't mind if it's the Chase and Tempt show, if that means the communication is better and they can play together at that pub, which it looked like it. And then the rest of the 3 sort of sandwich Dusty together. If it looks good, if it works, then so be it for X7. They're trying to reinvent themselves, they're trying to find a way, and doing it against Dusty with this very promising roster, who are 2-0 up in the league, is going to mean that X7 are slowly but surely getting back to their old form.
Big pick up here, actually, for the side of Kasing. He's got the Putrefier finished up with the Moonstone, so buying a bunch of Grievous to his team. Curb, he's actually potentially been caught out here into everything's been thrown down. Curb going very low. The cannon barrage from Chasey will follow up, and Tempt comes in with a 2-man shuffle. MC continues to chase forward, lands himself the Heartbreaker, and Den Voxney can't do squat. He has to flash towards Backlund. Backlund comes in. MC's now going very low. Den Voxney, he's resetting. He's got the stuns. He's got the chase. He's actually continuing to keep this fight going. The Zap's going to land, and now they continue to chase a little bit more. Rocket's going to land, but it's not going to be quite enough. Then Voxney almost goes down, but somehow makes the hero play. But once again, Tempt is coming in on the flank. Here comes the pigeon. Dem Voxney gonna get opened up onto, tries to jump away, but he will lose his life. Tempt, the flanking king for X7.
Tempt on the pigeon looks like a whole different beast, actually. Pulls the flank twice from the exact same side, and something that should have ended up 2 for 3 in favor of X7, it ends up being a 2 for 7. It was a very chaotic fight. X7 completely overextended right there, but Kerberos is walking in while he's mini now. That means he's that much squishier, and if the root lands like that on you, you cannot jump from the blast gun. MC was exactly onto him, so he couldn't get away. But the funny thing happens here, right? Tempt walks in, really beautiful shuffle. MC will jump in, but he will take Lulu underneath the tower, which gets him so low from that tower shot. And Lulu is just not necessarily that useful when you want to chase in a fight. That means he goes very low, he overextends. That means X7 have to overextend. And you definitely do not want to be giving resets to the Voxne when he also has Buckland around onto that Victor late game. This combo really hurts. And Kasing so why? But again, Tempt TP's back onto the bottom quadrant of the jungle, finds the Voxne, and together with Attila, the Qs, and the slows from the Senna, they managed to pick him off.
Absolutely beautiful play there from Tempt, and now we can see the Baron is obviously up, but it's 1 minute until that Infernal Drake. That's the big boss that we are going to be keeping our eyes on, because like you were saying, Attila basically just turns into Infernal. It's hit to Felios Infernal from that center once you get that, and it is going to be super scary to play into them.
I think the most important thing to keep our eyes on are summoner spells. Stend, no flash. Then Voxne, no flash. Buckland, thankfully, will have his up very shortly. If we go on the other side, everyone has flash. That's very squishy, except Tempt on that Z. Yes, you don't necessarily need it, but maybe for the shuffle?
They are chasing. Flash actually comes out from Kasing. Chasing has to teleport in. Tempt has the shuffle available as X7 potentially setting up for a big fight here. This could be the defining moment of the game. This soul is so important for all of the team.
Kerberos needs to find things to hit because his Mega Napa has not loaded at all. It's almost halfway there. He needs to get really close. 10 seconds only. He just needs to find something to hit to get that rage going.
I don't think he's going to be able to do it apart from passively onto X7 with these Qs. Dusty, don't want to get this up. Curb actually jumps over the wall there and might find himself in a little bit of trouble as the Dragon gets started up. Watch Tempt though with the Sand Sword just zoning away. Curb comes in for the Gnar. He's looking for it. He's able to find onto Tempt. Tempt has to use the stopwatch. The Cannon Barrage zoning everybody away. Dembox the untouched for the moment. The traps doing him a little bit of work as MC slides in forward. The Railgun will shut him down as Dusty are just going to be completely scattered from the fight, and X7 will secure themselves the Dragon, although the laser was close, but not close enough. Infernal Soul to X7.
Again, X7 are playing these flawlessly. Kerberos has to dive into the pit because he has to charge that rage bar to get that Mega Nub, but again, it misses. It doesn't hit anyone but Tempt. Tempt has the stopwatch right there. Gets out, doesn't even need the Senna ultimate, and Attila holds on to the button until very late. Every single member from X7 actually survive, and they take 3 with them from Dusty. That means they get Infernal Soul, that means they get Baron, and that means they can get to push 3 lanes together if they so wish.
Well, Baron in the pocket here of X7. They've got Soul. They've got everything they need to set up for this, and we were saying it's the Dem Voxney patch, but he just wasn't even allowed to play this game. He is just, his whole team has been pushed around so hard by X7, and this is the X7 we were expecting in week 1.
Absolutely. I think Tempt has now come back to Europe. He's on a proper schedule. He's popping off. Chasey is also showing us what he can do. He was very promising coming in from Challengers Korea, and then MC finally finding his footing in one game onto that Viego, as well as the X7 bot lane, playing a little bit more of a passive, pokey sort of style on the bot side of the map. On the other side for Dusty, I just haven't been able to figure out what Linkas or that Udyr should do.
What a shuffle back as Attila's going low. He's able to survive. Look at that shield from Kasing.
That's not
that is
broken.
Unholy. Rocket is coming in, and what is that shield? It's like
his entire health bar, pretty much.
It's like 600-700, I swear. That is crazy.
Again, X7 are going to use the Baron. Yes, they lose. They almost lose a member, Attila, but they're going to use the Baron in the mid lane. There is no pressure, and I'm going back to my question. Like, I don't understand what these Udyr is meant to do this game. Kerber's under a lot of pressure under his own tower. Being mini, he's just so squishy. He cannot even walk up to the
he's
wave.
dead. He is about to get that Gnar bar up in time. Can he do so? He's going low. He's got the collector on him from Chasey. And now Tempt and Chasey able to finish this up, take down that tier 2 in the top side. And X7 are just coming alive in this game. Linkus has to jump away as MC was charging up the Spectral more, but not going to pull that trigger. Den Voxney, 2 items. He's feeling it. They're going to jump forward. They've got the red buff. They've got the slows. The flash is failed by MC. Another bear slap should set up for another chase onto him as MC getting opened up onto, but he is so tanky when he's got Kasing to keep him up as the railgun's going to come down.
Like
Shield as MC can't even deal with him. That is Chasey on a rampage with the collector cannon barrage, and suddenly MC, he was being chased, but he has turned it around. Backlund is on the run. He was chasing as the Predator becomes the prey. X7 just turn it around onto Dusty.
And they have come such a long way. 55 deaths on their first 2 games. The team with the most deaths in the league week 1 are now almost deathless.
Oh, there is the shuffle coming in from Tempt. Curb not even gonna have that Gnar bar in time. An ace for the side of X7. Davis Foxney is up in 3 seconds time, but I don't know if he has a 1v5 in him, but he's gonna bloody well try it. Den jumping forward. He's got Linkus in his pocket. The town number 1's gonna go down as Linkus is popped. The barrel lands onto Den Voxney, and he is collapsed from the side of X7. The tower will fall, the Nexus will be exposed, and trouble. It's our second 27-minute game of the day. X7 are back, baby!
Former NLC champions with only 3 deaths. Only 3 deaths in this game. They are leading the charge in the league with 55 deaths in just 2 games. And this one, they almost went deathless. I feel like they finally found some sort of formula that works for them. Top side of the map on carries, bot side of the map on facilitators. I think Attila looked so good on that Senna. I think Kasing looked so good onto his Karma. The top side of the map popped off. The Koreans are coming online. MC is finding his footing. I think that's a really good showing from X7.
A much needed showing from X7
Absolutely.
as well after that week 1. But we're going to throw it over to Arkaram and the rest of the analyst desk to break that game down. So Archer, over to you.
The Kings of the North are back in full strength. It didn't take 26 minutes. It was faster than needed. What happened? Okay, you want to talk? Yeah.
Tempt is no longer jet lagged from his trip to Korea. That is what I can say.
That's what you take from this whole game.
That's what I take from this whole game. No, I mean, I think from kind of start to finish, X7 looked pretty in control of that game.
Yeah.
Again, right, we spoke about the top lane matchup. Chasey looked in complete control of that from start to finish. And that's traditionally in lane, not inherently how that GP lane's supposed to go.
It's a big thing for me. You know, that's one of the reasons I was looking at that. At least as a litmus test for the entire team, because I think Kerberos has always been this player that has been very good in those 1v1s, understands his matchups very well. Chasey was another level this game. I do think that Kerberos had that one good moment where they were threatening the dive, forced out the flash. That was good moments. You could see the caliber of player that was in that lane. But you look at Chasey on this GP, and they got so much value. They managed to get ahead in that early lane. They were at the point where they were very stable inside lane, even though they were on weak side quad a lot, and there was a chance of potential dives when there were massive 4-man units going around the map. That never really happened because Chasey understood when he needed to be clearing out waves, when he needed to be away from his turret. Did that very, very respectfully. That's just one person amongst many good performers on X7 in this game, though. Laning phase was very clean. They understood where they needed to be on the map, and they just pummeled the fights when they found them.
If we're talking about the bot lane as well, Attila and Kasing for the first time, not losing any sort of gold or dying to it, and getting the turret as well.
And I think that's the important thing. I think the draft actually enabled, or more accurately, actually disabled the weakness of Attila and Kasing in lane occasionally.
Just paper over that crack real quick.
Yeah, it's, you know, just a quick, I wouldn't call it a band-aid, but, you know, you just roll the paint over it a little bit. And, you know, having the likes of a Senna and Karma together, right? Shielding to match the shielding of a Lulu, but then also having Senna's, you know, range and then also her own self-sustain and sustain for the Karma just kind of shuts down that Jinx Lulu in lane. And again, it just gave them so much freedom. X7 effectively ended up having 3 lanes of priority. It's why I think, at least I hope, I was leaning on seeing Dusty take up the Azir themselves. Instead, they leaned into taking the Victor side of the matchup. And okay, great, you've got these 2 carries that can go the distance in those kind of games, which it seemed to be shaping up to be. But I feel like you had to have at least one avenue for the Udyr to play through. And unfortunately, because of that, MC was effectively able to match pace in terms of sort of CS numbers, right? Didn't really fall behind in the XP department, was able to pick up those early dragons, and having that additional soul come that sort of 25-minute onwards moment in the game just put too much pressure on Dusty for them to actually stand up to X7.
If we're talking about MC, MC is going to be the interview for today for X7. The jungler that came into X7 from the other side. Welcome, MC. There you go. I get to see your face again. With a smile, which is really cool from you at this point. It went good this time, right?
Yeah, much better than last week.
Okay, I gotta know, what happened on the previous 2 games? Was it like the jet lag, playing with slow queue, people were still trying to get accustomed to the new team, a lot of economy to break apart the team? Tell me, hit me.
I think one big issue was that we had 0 scrim games with Tempt, or like the full roster. And it was about like 1 scrim block with Chasey, so I think we had basically no practice together. That's what made it rough.
And now a new patch, practice with Tempt as well. Tempt is comfortable. It seems like the top lane is also comfortable. How is the ambience in the team right now?
It's really nice, actually. Everyone's willing to improve. Like, everyone's trying their best, you know? Even though it's a tough start, like, everyone's working hard to, like, become better.
And how do you feel playing for X7 at the moment? Obviously, a lot of people are letting the Nidalee go by. I don't know how you feel about that. But how are you feeling playing with this composition and this name as well?
Really excited, because I feel this time we can, like, or at least I can achieve so much more. You know, hopefully we, do well in NLC, and, the target is, to do well in EU Masters as well. I think with this roster, we can do so much more.
So your goal at this point, it's not even, I'm going to try and win NLC. It's like, no, I want to go at it. EU Masters, I want to look LFL in the eyes, I want to take it all. Is that it?
Yes, sir.
Are you hungry, man? Yes, sir. I like it. So I want to touch as the last question for you, and this is something more comic as well. M-Test was one of our guests in the previous weeks, and he told us, I mean, if you're going to main anyone, better main a good champion and not Nidalee. What can you say about that?
I mean, I think Nidalee is like the most mechanical jungler, so I think if you're going to main something, you main something that requires like a lot of skill.
Okay.
Then it makes it easier to learn other champs.
I mean, and it takes a good player to actually understand what the champion actually has. It's not like a game.
To defend himself. What are you doing for MCs,
I want to be nasty. I want to be nasty. MC, I love that smile. Keep smiling always, and good luck with X7 throughout the rest of the split. Thank you for the interview, man.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Actually wrong, by the way. He's
What?
never played Riven Jungle. That's the mechanical jungler. That's
I
Season
mean-
5 Riven Jungle. I remember that.
I prefer
Right.
the Ezreal late jungle. Those were the days.
Well, we had Haru. We had Haru who had a skin for that champion in our league last split.
They stole Haru. But, okay, so they're feeling comfortable. We didn't have any sort of scrims with Tempt. It's a new patch. It's a new day. It's a new life.
Yeah, and it's kind of, in a weird way, refreshing to still hear, I suppose from MC's perspective, but also from X7's perspective, that the goal is effectively still the same. They want to go the distance at EU Masters. Did it work out in spring? No, but there's plenty of things you can point out and say, these things went wrong on the day or...
NLC.
LDLC. It's just they just well, I'm not going to make excuses. It was a bit of a low roll in the quarters, but at the end of the day, it makes me glad to still see that X7 as a team are still aiming that high, and also for MC, right, as this sort of almost kind of wonder kid sort of brought into X7 in that kind of context of, okay, he's filling the shoes of Haru. It's a completely different role to one that he's been used to in the past, and hopefully we get to see him step into that more comfortably as weeks go on, and as we kind of get used to this new version of League of Legends as well.
But it's a yes, sir angle. And that's confidence. And even though you're feeling in shoes, you're feeling comfortable.
Yeah.
And, I think that's very important because when you have top teams, this has been something which I keep parroting, so I think this has been the story of roster building over probably since Season 9, I'd say. You don't just have to have stars. I still think there is a level of star power and firepower that you need, but you need them to be on the same page. Now, first week, we saw MC go, 0-10 in the second game. Probably not on the same page at that point. That one's at the back of the book. This is the other team. elsewhere through the chapters. But in this game, it did seem like they were more, actually a little bit similar to the point that you made about the singularity thing. It felt like this competition was so much easier to play. Look, you know you're going to get to a point, you're going to 5v5 with a load of shields, and they played it out very well. This game, as opposed to the other game we saw, felt like more of the new style of League of Legends we're likely to see on the patch.
And I would like to point out that we were on the green room and Nymeta was saying, I hate
enchanters.
Yeah,
Nope, I don't want to see this. I can't kill you stuff. I don't want to see 3,000 HP of shields every fight. It really
I love
makes me
that
sad.
because we're going to jump for the interview with one player that played with an enchanter with the Lulu. It is Stend on the bot side from Dusty, the support. Hello, Stend. How are you doing?
Hey, hello.
Hello, obviously it's not the best of days to get to know you right now, but coming in with the Lulu, with the new patch, and it seems like Lulu is getting some sort of popularity in this patch. How do you feel about picking Lulu, and how do you feel about Lulu in this patch?
I think for sure it's stronger, but we still have to know a bit more, like have more data to know what is really good or not. Personally, it's not my best play style, if I could choose.
That smile, yeah.
But yeah.
Okay, so tell me, how are you feeling with this patch so far? It's a complicated one. We were talking about the Ignite as well in the green room because you can no longer use Ignite. It kind of got nerfed because everyone else has more HP. How are you feeling with this patch right now?
For me, it's I'm still discovering some things. I'm playing a lot of solo queue to figure out what is good. For sure, Ardents are better. Like it's harder to punish and dive, so they scale better. But I think today we got a bit trapped by this, so we have to still invest on that.
So one of the bigger things in this game, which we found really interesting, was the heal ghost that we saw in this bot lane. Now, in previous patches, we've seen stuff like heal barrier, because it's really hard to cut through a lot of these enchanters. Heal ghost, is this something that you've been practicing a lot? Is this something that you can foresee happening a lot more? Or is this just a niche thing in this game?
I think it's only a niche game. No, I mean, Dan Vosney already did it in the past. I think he saw that they outrange us a bit, so he wanted to, in late game, have a tool to maybe gap close the range. And in this lane, I don't think like Ignite will have done the difference anyway. So he said, okay, I'm going Ghost, let's take the heal on bot.
I have two more questions for you, if you may. Looking into the Udyr, obviously, yeah, you run, you slap, and you say caca, and you deal damage. But do you feel that the Udyr came strong in this game, or were you like in the middle of the game, maybe we could have picked something else?
I think, it was really not a good pick. I think he can't do anything. We didn't have a lot of prio. He can't reach the enemies, so it's a really hard game for Linkas. So yeah, I don't think Udyr was a good pick this game.
Okay, now we're going to throw the entire game away and we're going to look into Dusty. It was a loss. It was versus X7. They're looking spicy. The draft didn't went your way as well. But how are you feeling looking into Dusty? I mean, the team is looking solid. What is the objective from Dusty this split?
I mean, for sure is to contest the top one and go EU Masters to fight for it. Yes, that's our objective.
Okay. I mean, everybody wants to go at EU Masters. Everybody is hungry. There's no longer an angle of, I want to be top 3. No, you guys want to go top 1 and go for EU Masters.
Top 3 would be EU Masters if we had 3 seeds.
I don't know if Riot is going to tell me, but tell me, is there any team right now at NLC that you really want to face against?
Not really. I think the team I wanted to face was X7 because of Attila, but yeah, I want
revenge?
Yeah, for sure. I want a revenge. Yeah.
That's all I needed.
But I want to face every teams.
Okay.
In the league. Yeah.
Seems good. Best of luck on the remaining games, and I'll see you soon. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Bye.
Bye. And there you go. Everybody is really hungry in Summer
I
Split.
like that. That's good.
Obviously.
Good. Now, there might be some reality checks along the way, but you got to stop with that, right? No, but that's reasonable, right? Sometimes you think you are on top of the world, things are awesome, and then you get hit by a patch change like this, and then slam.
There's the famous it starts with success, but also it starts with hope. And that hope can very
Actually, it started with the Phantom Menace, but that came 3 episodes later.
Good enough is we need to look at how teams are doing so far after the second game of week 2, day 3. How are the standings, you may ask? I'm gonna show you. Bifrost are still alongside JDXL in first place, undefeated, followed by Astralis and Dusty. And then looking into the middle of the pack, X7 now with 1-2. And then solo at the bot side, we have Nuriki with Team Singularity. Obviously, we still have a lot of games going forward, but these are the standings so far. I'm so glad I